Hey guys, I gotta make this quick as possible. We're going over In Space with Markiplier parts 1 and 2. So spoilers, 1, 2, 3. You had your chance. Anyways, we have to go through the main storyline because I have to go to work here soon. And also, I didn't watch all of part 2, so let's just go ahead. So basically, you're on the Invincible 2, which is a reimagining of the first one, which went very wrong, which we believe Mark was a part of. And he was Markiplier's the head engineer creating the ship. Um, in the ways we also have gone through the main weapon here who stops asteroids and stuff. Celsi who can do cryo, which is sleep until you find a new planet. And then there is Bert, who is the person that stops everything from just blowing up. Um, and you are a captain who is high ranked that gets transferred to this project to lead them to this. Um, and basically, here's the big spoiler for part 2. Is in the beginning of this story, we learn that the warp core is the one. Like, of course, the other systems aren't as built great because it's Markiplier, but the warp core has been found and has no origin, but it works, so they're using it. But the thing is, you learn that Markiplier is the one who built this to rebuild it to maybe fix the problem. But the thing is, he's the one who built it, had it get back to the past so they can use it in the first place. He's also like in the story, basically, when you're going to start the ship and it's starting to go into a warp, you're not supposed to be awake for it, but of course your pod goes on a soft reboot, soft update, and you end up not falling asleep when it warps. So you're awake, you get a part of the warp hole, and you wake up to basically you become a being inside the warp core, which is basically connecting a whole bunch of multiverses that are connected, and you're jumping from one of your bodies to another, just keeping the same memories from the last multiverse. So every time you die, it's actually one of you dying in another multiverse. And Mark is basically trying to help you. He knows the system's well enough to fix them, but of course, you learn that it was actually him in part 2 who sabotaged everything to try to stop the captain. Um, and then once they get to the warp core, you jump into it. Mark is now a part of the cycle of going to the next multiverse, so he has knowledge. And a few times, a few of the others start learning and connecting with the Warpole too, and they start remembering a little bit too. Um, and those are the more bad endings. Um, but in the end, basically, you're trying to fix things every time you go to the next universe. There's new, different themes, different looks, and eventually, you end up calling some of the aliens, which are a part of an organization that stops all multiverse collapse and warpholes and all that. And they find that it's your ship trying to destroy a multiverse, you're trying to wipe out the entire multiverse. So they're trying to stop your ship, get it fixed up to where it doesn't destroy any more life. Which by part 2 they can't, and the ship and the crew disappear and are destroyed or died. Um, and the head one of the head people um end up finding out who you are, find out they recognize you as the captain, and once they recognize that you're still there and that they try to fix everything, they realize that you're a part of something bigger, and they try to stop you and try to fix it. Because when you first go into the warp core, you find the door that goes to the warp core, and the warp core gives you the crystal of its power and tells you to fix a paradox. And the paradox is you giving the crystal to that head person from that organization because now she's trying to stop your progression. Um, and then, of course, the biggest part that even started it, that made it start repeating, was Mark. So there's technically two paradoxes intertwining here: her trying to interfere with you, and then Mark being the one who started it in the first place. Eventually, Mark starts getting wise and ends up trying to stop you every single time. And it takes him years. Now he's an old man and he's set up the traps and all that. and he's already done the warp core. And at the very end, he ends up blowing up the gem, so you can't redo it anymore. And he sets up the warp core to implode in itself, basically, and it just and basically destroys all life. And sure, other multiverses can continue going, but now you basically killed a lot of life in the multiverse. So your entire reason for part two is to go back and stop Mark from creating it in the first place. So you stop. He basically is about to stop you, but you're grabbing him as he's about to get put into the wormhole, and he asks you to let him go so he can get sent back and start the loop again. But you basically tell him, you stop him from going in it, and you grab the gem, and it takes out the power source, so the warp core never happens. He calls you an idiot, but realizes that nothing's going wrong. And basically, at the end of part two, you stopped the cycle, Mark, and you remember the events, but in this multiverse, nothing has ever happened. You do find your new colony, and you set it up without any problems, because there is no loop after you stopped Mark from doing it. It's kind of weird because now you guys have a, well, it's not weird because the multiverses still happened. Like in multiverses, they still died, but it will no longer be a constant problem anymore. But anyways, that's it for In Space with Markiplier. Sorry if I spoiled it and you just jumped in mid video, but yeah, that's basically it. There's a few cameos and stuff, but that's more of just multiverses working it like a what if situation. But anyways, I have to go to work. Yeah, bye bye.